Hey there folks, the number one Boldy James fan from the Infinite Jukebox here with another quick album review, and today I wanted to talk about the new Boldy James record, Permanent Ink. Man, it feels just like deja vu talking about a Boldy James album on my YouTube channel. Why is that? Because I just talked about an album that he released 3 weeks before this. There was like a 3-week period of a difference between these two records. The last record he put out being on the 3rd of January 2025, Murder During Drug Traffic, a collaboration with producer Rich Gaines that I ended up digging into like a few days ago as I film and, upload this video. And it wasn't good. I complained about how Boldy James just seems to be throwing things at a wall and seeing what sticks, and despite being one of the most talented underground or quote-unquote alternative rappers out there right now, that he just isn't taking the time to develop a project that truly feels like a demonstration of his abilities as an artist, and is frequently collaborating with producers that just don't know how to put forward a sound that suits him stylistically. And I'm about to do the same thing here, so. The first Boldy James album to not be branded as a collaboration with insert producer here in quite some time, Permanent Ink, is still a demonstration of everything that's wrong with his career at this point, in my eyes. I mean, the guy is an incredibly talented artist, both stylistically and as a lyricist, aesthetically, but man, would you not know it by this record? This album dives most notably further into the issue that James is just kind of throwing stuff out there without any real reason or intent. That is especially seen here with his songwriting throughout Permanent Ink, which is really just the same old that we've always gotten from him. I have no issue with any artist retreading over the same lyrical topics of crime and violence and braggadocio. That's totally fine with me, but find a creative way to do it from album to album, for the love of God, please. And that's the one thing that he doesn't do on this record. If I didn't tell you what record this was from, and I didn't play you any of the instrumentals, or even play you how he delivered the lines, I just read you lyrics from a record, then you wouldn't know what album it was from like his last 3. It's that bad at this point. It's getting rough. I mean, let me read you some of the lyrics from this record. I mean, made it back in one piece, 80 racks in 1 week off a field goal. I kicked it with a 3 and it still sold. Young at heart, but all that run in the street made me feel old. Was taught to always be the message I bring. Pulled the sword from the stone, some will never be king. That's just the same shit that he's been writing for multiple records at this point, and guess what? I lied. That's not even from Permanent Ink. That's from the Conductor Williams collab he did last year, from the opening track Terms and Conditions. Fuck you. That's my point, though, is I can read you lyrics from a totally different record that he's put out within the past year and a half, 2 years, and unless you're a diehard Boldy James fan who knows every line by heart, then you're not gonna know the difference, because he doesn't attempt to do anything new lyrically or stylistically on any of these records, and that's a major point of frustration for me right now, because he really is an outstanding writer who can find some of the most creative and devastating ways to bring about the most mundane and average topics that you can get from the East Coast rap scene at this point, but instead he just provides things in the most uninteresting and predictable way possible. I probably couldn't tell you what records they come from specifically, or, if they're from different songs. I can just tell you if Boldy James wrote it, but the fact that you can't really differentiate a lot of his songwriting from one record to the next is just deeply uninteresting, especially when you try and stay connected with his constant release stream at this point. The thing that really drags this record down, though, overall, are the instrumentals, which lean even heavier into this Detroit trap sound that just doesn't suit James at all, stylistically speaking. I mean, the guy has this deep voice that's capable of working with so many grittier kind of sounds, whether you're going with a boom bap kind of sound, a jazz rap kind of sound, something more minimalistic. Hell, I would love to hear him rap over some more industrial kind of stuff. I think he could kill it on that potentially. But no, instead he raps over these trap beats very lazily, and it doesn't work out in either direction. The beats themselves feel pretty stock and uninteresting. James sounds bored, disinterested, and lacks the energy to work over those kind of instrumentals. It just makes for a mess of a record that somehow feels slightly worse than Murder During Drug Traffic or any of his other more middling projects in recent memory, and honestly makes for an album that I might consider to be his worst to date. Not to necessarily say that this is that much worse than some of his other completely forgettable albums, but at the same time, Permanent Ink, it just feels like it works that much less than some of his other recent records, which have also not worked in nearly equal regard. This entire record is just violent mediocrity incarnate, all the more painful made by the fact that it's a very talented man behind this record. He's put out some brilliant albums, including some of the best rap albums of the early 2020s if you want to go back just a few years. And he's a veteran of the genre, having projects that go back well over a decade at this point. So it's a shame to see him putting out a record that doesn't feel like he's really trying at this point. I deeply respect the guy's independent status and his work ethic, but if that work ethic just means pushing out records where you don't have anything to say and you can't even really find a suitable sound to match with you and your flow, I don't see the point other than just expressing oneself in the form of art, which is a beautiful thing, of course, but it doesn't necessarily make for the most interesting listening experience when a guy that sounds like he's been bored out of his skull for the past 3 records is rapping over trap beats that you could hear on pretty much any middle-of-the-road Detroit trap project at this point in history that you could easily find pretty much anywhere on the internet. I'm going to give this record 1.5 stars out of 5. And with that being said, that is the end of this quick album review. Thank you for watching The Infinite Jukebox, and I'll see you in the next one.